The left is very down on America, very down on the West. And it's ironic because the West has also given us everything that makes your life good here. Don't ask Billie Eilish or Chappell Roan about what the Western values are, because they'll just say it's about oppression. Right. But it's not about oppression. It's about rule of law. It's about respect for minorities. It's about democracy. It's about scientific inquiry. These are all good things that came from the Western world. I wish that schools would teach that again.
I know that's right. I don't know why I digress. I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. Sometimes the loudest shift doesn't come from politicians. And if you've been following Kingdom Reacts this week, we've been talking about the shift in fractures as well. It comes from someone who's how do I say, set inside the culture for years, and suddenly they say, wait, what exactly are we doing here? Like, what's the mission? Because once the conversation stops being about feelings and starts being about systems, everything changes. I mean, completely. And that shift doesn't stay in studios, y'all. It shows up in real life.
Dozens of Lee County public school students have been suspended for their involvement in ICE protests at Lee County high schools. Now a state senator is claiming the teachers union helped orchestrate the walkouts. Gulf Coast News chief political reporter Dave Elias just got out of an exclusive interview with the school superintendent. And Dave, do we know how many students have been suspended?
Well, Kelly, we're actually working to confirm just how many students have been suspended, but we're told the suspensions have not all been handed down. The district says there are more than 3,600 students who participated across 14 different schools. But the big question tonight is why were so many students suspended exercising their First Amendment rights? Students at Cape Coral, Ida Baker, North Fort Myers, all walking out of classes protesting ICE arrests.
It was mostly unity that we just wanted to show.
Holding signs and chanting against ICE.
We all kind of walked around the school protesting. We were saying what we feel.
Some students jumping fences and leaving school.
I did not want my child to be part of this.
State Senator Jonathan Martin making this claim in Tallahassee without evidence.
I've heard accusations from just my district in Lee County that school teachers were helping organize political speech and a walkout.
Was the teachers union behind these walkouts, or did you orchestrate them?
No, we didn't.
Teachers union president Kevin Daly demanding proof.
Would like for him to show how talc organized or, planned.
I don't have any information that's been shared with me that the union's behind it.
Superintendent Dr. Denise Carlin refusing, though, to say just how many students have been suspended. We've heard over 100. Is that about accurate?
I don't have those numbers right now. I don't. I've heard a couple of dozen.
For what types of things are kids getting suspended?
If you jumped the fence and left campus, or you walked out a door and left campus and you created an unsafe situation, not only for yourself, but for other students, we're not going to put up with that.
What proof is there?
They actually had the ability to write down people's names when they saw things that were inappropriate. There are also videos.
Are you against these types of demonstrations?
But I am not okay with unsafe situations, with children refusing to listen to the adults in our building.
Do you think you're taking a hardline approach on this?
I'm very clear. We are about teaching and learning.
Now, the superintendent tells me that demonstrations made some students feel unsafe. She also tells me the district is reevaluating its approach just in case there are any more walkouts that occur.
So she told you the investigation is ongoing. Does she expect more suspensions coming?
Yes, she said that there will be more suspensions. They're reviewing some video. They're reviewing eyewitnesses. So once they get all of that together, they tell us they will have an exact number.
All right, Dave, keep us posted.
This is what happens when activism leaves social media and decides it wants to enter into institutions. Students walked out. Students, where they got it by. Because students walked out and schools responded. Not because of the message, but because of the disruption. The belief didn't get punished. The behavior did. And once institutions start drawing that line, you see where authority actually lives.
She was suspended without pay after calling Customs and Border Protection during a routine traffic stop. The department saying that Sergeant Denise Wallet violated police policy by contacting immigration agents, but Wallet says she was ordered to do so. What's the truth? Garrett Tenney tries to wade through that today. Good morning, Garrett. What you find out?
Yeah, Bill, good morning to you. That officer is now filing a federal lawsuit against the Detroit Police Department for violating her due process rights. Earlier this month, Sergeant Denise Wallet responded to a traffic stop when officers were having trouble identifying the driver, a Venezuelan man, when a fingerprint scanner didn't work and they found out he had a fake ID. DPD claims Wallet then violated department policy by calling Border Patrol to help figure out who the guy was, which led to him being taken into federal custody. But this new body camera video supports her claims that her lieutenant instructed her to call Border Patrol. Listen to this.
Border Patrol's coming. That's the one people we can call. Yeah. I talked to Lieutenant Henry. Oh, that's even better source right there. I talked to him and he told me to call them, yeah.
The police chief initially called for the 27-year veteran of the force to be fired, but she ultimately was suspended without pay for 30 days, not for calling Border Patrol, the department says, but for violating department policy that no officer should use differential treatment of individuals in the context of rendering police services based on a citizen's classification or the member's perception of any such classification. Wallet's attorney is pushing back on those claims and the department's initial story that Wallet was called to the scene to help translate for the driver who didn't speak English.
At no point in time did she contact them for translation purposes. Absolutely no policy was violated whatsoever. And at some point, she called her lieutenant and said, "What do I do? We can't identify this man. What do I do?" And the lieutenant, knowing the policy and following the policy, told her, "Call Border Patrol."
Last week, DPD also suspended a second officer for contacting Border Patrol in an entirely separate incident, something DHS is criticizing, while Michigan Democrats like Rashida Tlaib are celebrating the suspensions.
All right, Garrett, keep us posted.
Now, shift from students to enforcement, because here you have an officer following a directive and still facing consequences, which raises a simple tension. What happens when policy and instinct don't match? When someone tries to act in the name of safety, but the system says stay in your lane, that tension doesn't stay theoretical. Unfortunately, it shows up in the streets.
This cell phone video shows the moments Marcela Jimenez Macias was detained by ICE in Douglasville. Her husband, Gilberto Omar Medina, says on Friday morning, ICE officers pulled him and his kids over not far from their home. He claims they told him to call his wife to get the children because he thought he was being detained. But when his wife arrived, they detained her instead.
Come get the kids. One police told me all the time, hey, take it easy. The problem is not with you. But another guy told me, hey, I am arresting you and call your wife because I don't want to leave the kids in here.
According to Medina, he and his wife both have work permits and moved here from Mexico 3 years ago, but he believes his wife's November citation for driving without a license is what led to her being detained. He tells me they took care of that in the courts and paid what was due. Now this family is devastated and afraid he may be next.
It's hard, I don't send my kids to the school because I don't want to lose my family. I don't want to separate, because they told me I back for you and I'm scared.
Jameen Christian hears of cases similar to this often. Questions of, can they stop me? She is an Atlanta-based immigration attorney with Just Answer.
There must be a judicial warrant. With a judicial warrant, your name will be located on the warrant. Will be signed by a judge. And this is when they can take you into custody.
While she is not working with this particular family, she says the best advice is to record, take note of who you're talking to, and have a plan.
Have an ICE plan so that if you are ever pulled over by ICE, you don't have to speak to ICE. You don't have to call your wife. You can say, am I being detained?
Okay, so this is where enforcement stops being loud and becomes strategic. No chaos, no shouting, just execution. It's not emotional, it's just procedural. And when something becomes procedural, it stops feeling like an isolated event and starts feeling like more of a method, right?
It's exclusive. Our team goes on a ride along with ICE agents as they carry out one for their first job site visits at a new home development site near a fast-growing retirement community in Central Florida. And Dana Marie McNichol, she got to go along. She is live in Orlando this morning. Hi, Dana Marie. Good morning.
Hi, Dana. Good morning. Construction is booming in Florida, especially in and around the area of the Villages, as you mentioned, the world's largest growing retirement community. So we joined ICE as they went to this housing development unannounced after they opened an investigation.
We're talking to everybody out here. Are you a citizen of the U.S.?
Agents moved from house to house approaching workers. ICE describes the interaction as a consensual and optional conversation since they didn't have a warrant. Agents questioned their legal status, and those who couldn't provide valid immigration documentation were fingerprinted on site, part of a process to verify identities through a national immigration database. ICE says they opened an investigation after concerns from community members.
We've received a lot of tip line reporting on the, hiring practices of a lot of companies in the area, and so that's what we're doing today. We're obtaining a lot of license plates, company names, to be able to follow up on a lot of investigations are going to launch as a result of today's actions.
This marks the first worksite enforcement operation of its kind in the state of Florida. Officials made it clear it will not be the last. Most workers did comply with officers' requests, but over 30 ran away. According to HSI Tampa, agents talked to 361 construction workers yesterday, but arrested 33. 4 of them have a felony for coming back to the U.S. after being deported. And Dana, the operation, it didn't end there. Agents also visited local businesses to let them know that inspections are on the way.
From individuals to work sites, now the lens widens because enforcement doesn't just live in traffic stops. It moves into systems, into labor, into businesses. And when that happens, the conversation shifts from who crossed the line to who built the environment where lines didn't matter. Which brings us to this.
A woman charged with murder in Jefferson City is now being held on an immigration detainer. Danita Jackson is charged with murder after allegedly killing Kevon Goldson. Court documents say she is from Guyana in South America. Online records show on Tuesday the Immigration and Customs Enforcement requested records. The Cole County Sheriff confirmed ICE has asked for a hold on Jackson. She's still being held in the Cole County Jail. Her arraignment is set for tomorrow.
And then the conversation reaches its hardest edge. Excuse me. Because policy feels distant until it intersects with violence. And once that does, the debate stops being abstract. Now it's about outcomes. Now it's about consequences. Now it's about reality. What we're really seeing play out is the difference between the story and the system. You see, for years, the loudest voices shaped the story. They told us what fairness looks like, what compassion sounds like, what justice is supposed to feel like. But systems don't run on feelings. They run on, continuity. On rules that don't bend depending on who's trending. Because when enforcement shows up, whether it's in a classroom, on a traffic stop, or at a work site, or after a crime, it strips away the narrative and replaces it with consequences. Not punishment, consequences. And consequences don't ask for permission. They don't check hashtags. It simply reflects reality. I'm telling y'all, it doesn't wait for consensus. You can debate values, you can protest outcomes, you can challenge priorities, but at the end of the day, a nation is held together by agreement. It's held together by predictability, but it's also by the understanding that rules apply even when they're unpopular, even when they're uncomfortable. Because the moment a system stops applying itself consistently, it stops being a system and it becomes more of a suggestion. And suggestions don't hold societies together. Structures do. So whether people cheer or criticize, what we've seen today The deeper shift is this. The conversation is moving away from symbolism and back to a structure, away from performance and back toward accountability, away from emotion and back toward outcome. And when that shift happens, the question isn't, do we like it? The question becomes, do we want stability or do we want sentiment? Because history has shown us again and again, again and again, societies survive on structures, not stories. So if you made it to the end of this video, that's exactly the word that I want you to write. Structure. Put that in the comment section for me. Other than that, y'all be safe. Go check with somebody today. I'm debating whether I need to get a flight ticket and go to Chicago. I just learned last minute that my family's putting together like a little game night. However, I've been on a real mission this year in terms of I've been very sedulous about my goals in YouTube. And I'm over here like, of course I need some family time. I don't know. Y'all let me know. Y'all know you do. They don't do too well when you miss a day. You miss a day, boy. You out the algorithm. You ain't making no. Y'all be safe. Go check out somebody today. I just want to share with y'all what's on my mind at this very moment. Well, I'm going to make this decision by the end of the next video. Go check out somebody today. You could be saving their life. I said it, but I'm going to say it again. Peace.